Jack, and you are listening to Our Story Podcast, Episode 1. Today we are talking about our experience with autism. So let's get started.
Hi, I'm Kat. I'm 14. I enjoy singing ukulele and cosplay. Something you should know about me is I have autism. Ever since I was young, I knew something was different about me. Since I had gotten into kindergarten, the public school system had treated me poorly. My parents had to fight for me to get the help I needed because schools like Hope Creek Academy for children with special needs did not exist when I was really young. It took until I was about 8 or 9 to get help, but it was not a lot. A really mean teacher used to pull out me and my friend from the cafeteria and made us do math work. Many teachers treated me like I was different and that I was dumb and had no emotions. Sometimes they would talk slower and louder, treating me like a 5-year-old. Mean, rich, and preppy girls acted nicer at me, but would spread rumors as if I couldn't hear them because I was autistic. And yes, although it is sometimes hard for me to socialize, and sometimes I do have problems, but I am still human. I believe autism has helped me look at things in a new light. If only some people would look past the fact I have autism and see how many ideas I have.
I'm Jack, and I have autism. This is my story. When I was around 5, I got diagnosed with autism. I didn't really understand it at the time, but I knew I was different because I would have super bad tantrums, I would break things, scream, and threaten, sometimes resulting in people getting hurt. It was kind of bad. Eventually, I started taking a specific type of medicine, and it really helped. It basically saved me from a bunch of stuff happening, like going to the hospital more than once. And I used to have really bad impulse control. Once I got a thumbtack and scratched my mom's work laptop because I was upset. I've been on 5 different meds that have not helped. They've made it honestly harder for me. Medication can be a gamble. There are some helpful medications while some are not helpful. When I was really young, there was a kid that was a really big bully to me, and they tripped me in gym class to win a race. I got so mad and got into a fist fight with him. When I feel myself getting angry, honestly, my heart begins to racing. I feel like I'm done regulating my emotions. I'm thinking she is just such a jerk. They're just gonna like get it. Teachers and other adults would tell my parents they just need to discipline him more and put me in an isolated class. They would often pull me out of recess or lunch. They would make me make up my work, and I would get little toys or some kind of attempt at motivation. I was blamed, even though I was not the one bullying. Everyone was in the quote-unquote stick man club. The other students kicked me out and said I had quote-unquote brain problems. And this teacher, she was a complete jerk to me. She was the co-teacher in my first grade class. She eventually slapped me. I was acting up in class, and she'd given me everyone else one worksheet and me two, one of which was much harder than normal, and I just got really mad about that.
Hi, I'm Mitzi. I was born with autism. Autism made me the best version of myself. While I have had several challenges, I have also gained many skills and talents. The challenge that helped me the most was my experience dealing with harder math. I would often become frustrated and have big reactions surrounding math work. But learning certain strategies and ways to best help myself allowed me to find success. I have always been someone who can get the giggles easily and laugh at a lot of stuff, which sometimes got in the way of my success at school. When this starts to happen, I usually take deep breaths or drink water to help me find success in those challenging moments. These strategies have helped me become a more independent, strong, and kind person. Autism, while it has its challenges, has helped me become the best person I can be.
Hey guys, what is up? I hope everyone has had a great day. You guys can call me by my nickname, Shao Connor. I was very depressed and self-loathing as I was growing up through half of my life. Felt that autism has helped me to grow stronger than I ever felt before. When I started to move on, I got better at standing up to bullies who want to receive something out of me. I increased higher grades on my IQ, found some strategies to calm myself down from people's opinions and negativity that they influenced me with. There's nothing wrong with autism. You have diverse qualities most people aren't born with. Personally, I almost find it to be a gift. Society needs to look up to autism more instead of lacking knowledge about the disorder. The world should see abilities autistic people have. When I had serious issues with pain, I would go on the weekends to a psychologist's office, and I remember them being responsible, using an excuse that they had nothing to do with the fist fights and the outbursts at school I was getting into. Kids ridiculed me for my personality and the quirkiness I had when communicating with others. My school never knew what my specific needs were because they thought I wasn't that smart, even though I was one of those kids that refused to learn. I was annoyed by how they treated me in the public school system. When I was in the special needs class for the third year, the kids were very immature. I could not see any comparison. I would have patience compared to them. There were these 12-year-old kids. They would act so immature. They'd act like they were 7 or 8. They were not autistic, but they had some other developmental disability. They would sit behind my back and make fun of things I couldn't do. The teacher I had was not giving me the options that I needed. He wouldn't teach on my grade level because he just assumed I couldn't do it. And he was very savage, not in the way he's cool, but he doesn't really help me. Like, he helped me back then with my specific needs.
We are going to ask some questions now. Okay. Number 1. Are there ways in which you feel limited by autism?
I don't think there's really such thing as like limits. I think it's more or less things can be harder, but it doesn't prohibit you from doing anything.
Yeah.
Alright, I feel like autism itself is, autism just feels like, I feel that I'm not limited by autism, and sometimes I do feel limited. I feel like it's pulling me back, like if I wanna, succeed, like, recently, I tried getting a job, I always, like, I take my time to talk, and I feel like it's autism holding me back. I feel like autism pushes me back, and I just feel that autism could limit me from doing things all classes, and sometimes I get distracted by thoughts, like thoughts of anxiety, like what if I'm not gonna do good in this class? What if I sometimes autism makes me think sometimes that I makes me think thoughts, that aren't true. Like I feel like, autism wants me to be stronger than who I am when I'm already myself. Like I'm doing the best I can, and like math earlier, actually on Friday, I didn't I was kind of saying to myself, you got this. You could do better what you're doing. You gotta get all answers right, because I'm kind of listening to voices in my head, and then I cut myself off, and I'm like, don't listen to what you just said to yourself. I feel like autism, in my opinion, it's like the comic book Venom. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like, in the movie, Tom Hardy uses the parasite because it could help him through things, and I feel like autism helps me through things. Like, I feel like I could have autism to guide my back. Like if I'm in the situation, if I'm scared to tell someone about how I feel, I'll tell them how I feel right away. If I just ask a question as a strategy.
What I think about autism is that it helps me become a better person, and sometimes I get a little frustrated. Like last week I got a little frustrated. Then I reminded myself that I got this. I'm good at math, like Mr. White used to tell me when I was in his jump math class last year. So yeah.
I don't really feel that autism really puts any limits on anything. I just feel like it makes you think about things differently, and sometimes makes those limits makes things harder to do, but I don't think it completely limits you to do anything. I don't even believe in some people who are diagnosed with autism even have autism. I think maybe they're just quirky, but they're just put into a category that they have autism because of a certain way that they act, when we don't even halfway understand autism in its current.
Yeah. Well, I mean, autism isn't one thing. Some people who have quirky character traits kind of could fit into that box, because it's not one direct thing.
I think autism limiting you, I think, like what she said, I think I kind of agree with that, because it doesn't make it harder. It just makes it, it makes it harder, not limits you. It means, I used to really, really, really hate math. And eventually I've gotten a lot better with it over time, and it doesn't mean you're limited to not do something. I mean, you can learn how to do something. If you can't do it, we're a lot like people who don't have autism. Just think about that.
There are more questions about people with autism. How do you want people to ask about your experience with autism?
I feel like, they should say, not to be rude, but they should always, I think it's always good to ask if someone has autism, just with a form of curiosity. You could just I don't get offended by it, because I really don't care that I have autism. I feel like people should say not to be rude, but how does autism affect your life? How do you perceive it? Is there any pros and cons you have with autism? And I feel like, people should
I feel like an appropriate way to ask anyone with any kind of disability, would it be physical or mental or just like anything in general would be to ask, what's your story? It's a way more respectful way, because I don't want people to go up to me and ask like, oh, what's it like to have autism, blah, 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 because that makes me feel really uncomfortable.
I think that the appropriate way to ask someone about how it's like to have autism, I don't really think that you should do that, because it doesn't really define someone. And it's like going up to someone, it's like, what kind of disease do you have, or what kind of it's a very personal question, and I don't think that you should just go around asking random people about it. Because, for example, if somebody doesn't have autism and you go up and just like, how's it like to have autism, that could be taken as an insult. And I think that it doesn't really define who you are as a person, and if you really want to know, you should, if you find it so important to ask what it's like, if someone asks it, just say it's like being a normal person, but some things are more difficult.
Do you have like a hobby or something that you're interested in?
Alright. I really like listening to music, and I like playing guitar. I'm thinking I like to play video games. I'm thinking of what else. I usually like going outside. Like I do some things most people don't do. Like I'll take pictures outside with my iPhone, because I find some interesting things, that I see that no one else really captures. I'm thinking what else comes to mind. I really like watching, comedy movies. And action flicks. Like, I'm thinking of a good example, like usually Avengers Infinity War is one that I really love, and I feel like it's the best movie of 2018, but I'm gonna let someone else answer a question.
I like ukulele and singing and cosplay in particular. I have a cosplay Instagram page, and I like uploading stuff to that a lot. I find it just really fun to be a part of a community of people that doesn't really judge, because like everyone like dresses up and stuff, and it sounds really silly, but it's created a community for me that I can finally feel like peaceful in.
One of my hobbies is drawing. I really like to draw because it helps me get my ideas onto something tangible and not just floating around in my head, because I think that if I ever was to like write a story or something, I could look back at those ideas and remember them, because there's some good ones.
My hobby is I like to listen to music, and I like to play basketball with my friends, and I like to watch like my favorite show on Disney Channel. I also like to watch something that makes me laugh, and I like to watch movies like Black Panther. That's really the best movie. And I like to eat like Italian food, because that's really my favorite food in the world. That's my hobby and something that I'm interested in.
How do you feel autism is displayed on TV and movies?
Well, let's see.
Take your time.
Sometimes my brain gets a little so stuck onto my phone and all that stuff. And my mom keeps telling me to turn it off. That's really all I got.
I'm kind of, when it comes to representation of autism in media, I'm kind of glad they are starting to represent it more, but how it's being represented, I'm still not fully happy with. A lot of the times, a lot of stereotypes are put into it, and it feels super uncomfortable watching a lot of it just because it isn't all the time, autism isn't one thing, and it's normally represented as one thing. One show I could think of that actually does represent it well is probably The Good Doctor. I feel that even though I don't think the representation is 100% on point, it is way better than in a lot of TV shows and in movies. And it seems to be that a lot of the times I have to have headcanons about how characters have autism instead of them actually having autism confirmed, because a lot of shows are scared to admit that. So, yeah.
Like, I feel like, you get actors that do a good job playing an autistic character, and I'm thinking, for example, Rain Man. So, I think, Dustin Hoffman in that movie I think, he did a great job. I feel like he, how autism was back in the old days. I think, people didn't understand it. Like, they thought, like, the person, I felt like that movie itself tried, getting people to, understand autism and, try to say, like, how smart people with autism are. Like, this guy was different. Like, he could count, like, how much toothpicks there were in the jar, and he got them all correct when no one else had it. And that's just, but, like, if I watch, like, some comedy movie about someone with autism, or, if they, like, usually I find in most comedy that they start making fun of autism, and I kind of, depending on the joke, it could be offensive, but I feel like that just shows ignorance and embarrassment, not for the people that are making jokes about, like, are just stupid. And I'm not gonna go further into that, but some shows, like Atypical, like, I think that it does an okay job, but I feel like half of it, like, is based off of a quirky guy with different interests, with I'm thinking with a great imagination, but, like, he just doesn't seem autistic. Like, I could see some of the qualities that relate to someone autistic, but in the TV show, I just think they don't get all their facts right.
I feel like I would want representation to be more like, oh, this is a character, their personality is this, they do this, and they're super just like all the other characters, except one fun fact about them is that they have autism. But that's never how it is. It's like, they have autism, oh, they like this, but they have autism. And I find that really bothers me.
What is something you want people to know about autism?
Something that I want other people to know about autism is that people with autism aren't really that different from everyone else, and we should be treated the same as everyone else. And people should just be aware that sometimes things are a little more tricky for us, and during those times, they should be aware and remind us of strategies that can help us out.
So, I want people to know that being an autistic person means that it's like being the best version of yourself, just like in my story about being the best version of myself and how autism changed me for who I am. And people don't know I can sing. I'm really talented. That's what people should know about me. I have a lot of talents.
Alright, here's what I want people to know about autism, that, that we should, I feel like autism is treated, people say it's a disability. I just think it's just a spectrum, not really a disability, or I feel like disorders and disabilities, people say it's the same thing, but I don't think that's true. But going on, I feel like autism kind of is just, how you were born, and I feel like, autism is just one of those things that, that kind of, that I think people with autism have, the best qualities of themselves, that I feel like, they could help our environment and do so many things to they'll come up with ideas that no one else thought of, and put that idea out there in the world and then show it to everyone else, and people will be in shock that their jaws will drop. And I just wanted to say, feel like autism, people always bully others with autism, and I kind of look at that like it's racism, because it's just it's judging a book by its cover. I think I feel like we're all the same, and I feel like labels are just stupid and that they shouldn't exist.
Know about autism is that, like a lot of the other people in this podcast said, autism isn't just one thing, and it's not a all-encompassing term. For example, someone with autism could get really uncomfortable around loud noises and loud sounds and strong sensations, but someone else could enjoy loud sensations, and that would make them calm down. Some people just like us and not really have any preference when it comes to sensations other than if it gets to the point where it hurts. Thank you for listening to our story, and we'll see you next time.